Hi everyone, it's Sean from Pulse Markets. It's Wednesday morning here, and we've finally got we've got Mike Hudson here, from Southern Cross Gold. And the news is out. We've been waiting for the continuation of Hole 50, which has dropped, Mike. And mate, it looks like we've been rewarded for our wait. Good to see you. How are you?
I'm great, Sean. Thanks as always for catching up with me so quickly on this news.
But it's pretty exciting. Everyone was waiting after that monster cracking result you had, which was a game changer for the company. And we'll talk about that later. But you drilled down to, I think, around 600 metres previously, and then you drilled further. We all want to know, did it extend down? Was there more mineralisation or gold further depth?
It just kept on going, Sean, and it's pretty exciting. So we reported down to 651 metres last time. The hole extended down to 924 metres, basically. So we put out the bottom part of the hole. We intersected more high grades, more new zones. There's 4 new zones, 3 of which are very high grade, and in combination with the upper part of the hole, where we saw 300 odd metres. Now we've got over 500 metres of mineralisation, 520 metres. So it from the first mineralised interval to the last, and there's something like 13 individual vein sets up to 20 or 30 metres wide within that. So it's a pretty fundamental hole. It is really been a game changer. I use that term. I don't really like it a lot, but it is for this project. It is for Victoria. And one of the stonking drill holes in the space for the year, pretty much in gold exploration.
That's great, Mike. You're talking over 140 grams in this extension of what was already a massive hole. That 140 grams alone, that's a significant hole just in itself, if you don't even add what was already there, isn't it?
That's right, 140 gram meter gold equivalent. So it's a bit of a mouthful there, but we always have that threshold of 100 gram meters. That is, a bona fide, genuinely very good hole. So even this bottom third of the hole would be one of our top drill holes in the prospect if it was just the bottom third. But then a lot more gold was even found up the hole. Sort of, 2/3 of the gold was found in the top 2/3, well, even a bit more. So it's quite incredible, right? And overall, we got something like 861, I should say, gram per ton meters gold equivalent cumulative in the hole. So over the whole hole, we got something like 520. 1 meters at around 1.6 grams gold equivalent to stay in the mineralized zone for half a kilometre. Think where you're sitting today and where half a kilometre goes. And that's how much gold we had between you and that half kilometre.
Well, that's huge. It's exciting, isn't it? I mean, you've had so many high-grade hits in such a small area. And, I mean, one thing that I want to take note on today is that your peers, well, not your peers, your neighbours, you've got Fosterville, and we've always talked that at a certain depth, mineralisation changed for them. And I remember they were bought, I think, for about 280 million before they hit it big time. And I think our market cap's only 120 million at the moment. And we're showing really high-grade gold above that 500-metre odd zone. And you've drilled below that. And what we're all wanting to know is that's where Fosterville changed and the mineralisation really kicked in and up the ante. What did we see when we went deep? Was it similar to what they had, or is it something different? I mean, we're hoping it's similar, but what did we hit?
Yeah, geologically, that's probably the most significant point that you just flagged there, Sean. So I'm glad that you've seen that in that release. So what happens in these epizonal deposits is they go from gold antimony at the upper levels, and then they transition because there's a thermal or heat gradient. And as you get deeper, that antimony drops off. And at least in Fosterville's case, and what we're seeing at Costerfield now in drilling, that Mandalay are being so successful at, you get these uber high grades in this very different mineralogy. So you get much, at least in Fosterville, much thicker quartz carbonate veins and free gold, and the antimony has dropped off for the stibnite mineralisation, which is the antimony. And that's what we see here. We're not getting the very highest grades. The very highest grades are still associated with the antimony, so we could be in some sort of transitional area. But, you know, in one hole in, it's early days, but we're seeing those thicker quartz carbonate veins. You know, we up the top of the hole, they're only thinner, like we've seen everywhere, thin veins and stockworks. But we're seeing meter wide quartz carbonate veins with gold and arsenic and no antimony. So that transition is happening, that same transition that we've seen in these other deposits. So that, of course, leads to just what else may be there, and maybe very close to this drill hole in itself too. So that's a key geological observation and potential economic opportunity here.
Well, one thing with Fosterville, it was making about $1 billion a year in profit, and they had 8 million ounces, I think, at its peak, from what I've read. So, I mean, that's significant. You're looking at 120 million market cap, where if we keep drilling out, and it's similar to Fosterville, we keep drilling down, we could hit a lot more gold, and that's typically where the company could go if we're lucky.
You'll get about a 120 EV, 120 mil EV at the moment. So you're spot on there with that number. And, you know, the prize is a big one. Fosterville spat out at least $1 billion profit in the last number of years, and more in a couple of years ago when it was mining at double the grades. So these deposits can be uber profitable. I think Fosterville is one of the lowest cost gold mines on earth, just because of its very high grades.
Well, we've got those similarities coming through. What I want to talk about now is how can we firm this up? How can we build it? Obviously, we had a capital raise that happened recently. You've got some really large investors into the business from offshore. Your share price has rallied straight after that with obviously these results. It held up relatively well. There's been a little bit of weakness of late, but I think everyone's looking forward to these results. But you're super cashed up at the moment. You've got 3 drill rigs on site already. You've got, I think, 4 drill crews from memory. So you've got a lot happening there. Is there plans to, now you've got the extra money, to increase that? Or
Absolutely. The only way to advance a discovery is to, well, number one, understand it and then hit it hard. Don't hang around. And that's sometimes hard in our business because permits and difficulties there often complicate things, but we're fully permitted here. We've got 3 rigs. We'll be going to 4 rigs early next year. That's the aim. And then 5 rigs after that. So we're aiming to continue to drill. The strategy is clearly to make this bigger. You know, we're using the Lassonde curve, where that maximum valuation comes from discovery, and discovery is what will drive the value creation. And if we have more rigs on the ground, and if we continue to hit these kind of drill holes, or what we've seen in the project over the last 6 to 12 months, then you know, that will be happy days. So more rigs, have the cash to hit it very hard.
I'll tell you what, you're drilling into quite a big area, quite a large strike of 700 metres. And the first hole you go really deep into, you've hit gold straight away. I mean, what's the chances of that being the only hole in such a 10-kilometre strike where you've chose to drill? That's the only place where there's gold. I mean, the investor in me, the punter's thinking, you can't just get lucky once. There's got to be a lot more down there.
Yeah, we'd be very, very, very lucky if that was the case. I mean, we've got to prove it. We've got to drill. We're drilling and following up this hole as we speak. That's a key point. But yeah, it's the deepest hole on the property by nearly 300 meters. Have a look at some of the figures in the press release, and it just opens up the area hugely. And we found a lot more veins. We've got to fill those in up dip. And of course, it just opens up the rest of the prospect at depth and even going deeper. And remembering that it's open for 10 kilometres to the east and another 500 metres to the west. We've got about 5.4 kilometres of old mining workings that were held under mining leases. and we've only drilled 800 meters of those. So that's another metric, right? We're only just touching the edges of this system if you really think about just how at least we've got the evidence 2D at surface, and now we're starting to prove it, down to 800 meters with the drilling, but only in a relatively small area of a much larger mineral field.
With what you've said, you've got those drill rigs turning. I noticed at the bottom of the announcement, you've almost got 10 holes which are at the assay lab waiting to be assayed and get results back to the company. You've got 3 drill rigs which you've just said you've positioned around, trying to see how big this zone goes around where it is now. So virtually, like we said when we did the pre-IPO, then the IPO, you continue to successfully deliver. But now you've got more rigs turning. You've got another rig coming. News flow is going to be just pumping out all the time, isn't it? So we're not going to have to wait long. So the investor, I know the market loves news. They're always asking, when's the next announcement? When's the next announcement? And I'm always bugging you, when's the next announcement? You're like, well, look on the ASX. You'll see it when it's there. But what we're seeing is you've got a big team now. It keeps growing and growing and growing because the project keeps delivering. And it's just going to get quicker and quicker to drill out. We can expect a lot from you guys in the next quarter of next year, bearing in mind it's Christmas in a week or so. I'm assuming the drillers will have a week or two off with family, friends, like everyone does, and they'll be back hard at it again, drilling this system out as we go.
You said it very well, mate. If I answered that in any more detail, I'd be repeating the way you summarised it. But any successful discovery has a lot of cash behind it, to put a lot of drill rigs behind it, and to shortcut it. We don't want to be here for years and years mucking around with a couple of rigs. Let's see what's there, and let's see how big it can get in the shortest possible time frame.
One thing I noticed, and I'll just touch on the financing that you did recently, the investors that came in through me, and I know Bells and yourself put a lot of money through the company. I haven't had any selling, really. Like, everyone's looking forward to not only this result, but the results that are coming forward. Have you noticed that with the other investors that have come through, that they're sitting tight on the stock? The stock's pretty tightly held.
I think the way the market behaved post that raise, where there was something like 25 million shares added to the registry, and for anyone outside of Australia listening, they're all free trading. Australians don't escrow stock like the Canadians, so it was free trading stock, and the share prices behaved very nicely after that. So I think there's certainly been more buyers than sellers, and I drink my own Kool-Aid, to use a Canadian term, but and of course there should be. This is a great discovery, and it looks pretty early days. So you sell at your peril, I suppose, if you want to follow a good discovery.
Yeah, no, we're sitting tight in our shares at the moment. I've got no intention of selling. Yeah, we're certainly a buy recommendation. We've had a buy on it from the very beginning, and it's just, I think what I can say, Mike, depending on where we are December 30, this could be one of the best performing IPOs in Australia for 2022. Congratulations. That's a terrific result.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks to you and everyone around us. It didn't ever look necessarily simple or feel simple, but it's been a good end to the year, and one challenge begets another, and let's make sure we can continue to find more gold, and let's hope we get a bit of a gold market behind us, because we've been pushing against the tide here over the last 6 months with this discovery, if you really think about it in terms of where gold has gone over the last 6 months.
Well, I've seen a few reports. I can't get them off the top of my head, but they're talking 3,000 an ounce, 4,000 an ounce. They're really talking up the gold market over the next 12 months. So I think getting set even at these levels, if you keep delivering gold as you have been, and there's a risk that you can't, but it's certainly, with the success you keep having, hole after hole, it's bloody brilliant. With 10 holes in the labs, 3 drill rigs turning now, 4 next year, this is going to be a very exciting project to watch. You certainly won't be letting the tea get cold while you wait for the next announcement.
No, we're going to be busy. The team are very busy, and it's a very good team behind us here now, and it's a bit of a machine. What it takes to keep the news flow running and to collect that data rigorously and collect the data and how you interpret it, and make sure you're keeping up with the understanding. So I think people who come out and visit us get a bit of an appreciation of that. So we look forward to taking more people out next year and showing them the process.
What I'd like to do is to invite my investors to come out at some point next year. If anyone wants to give me a shout, potentially in February, you may do another investor briefing. I'd love to personally come and see those core samples and take a photo of what Fosterville had, and then have a look at the core samples we've got down low and just see how similar they are. Because I've looked at the photos on my computer and that they look virtually the same. So I'm really, really excited. This could be the next Fosterville. This could, again, put Victoria on the map. This is just brilliant, Mike. Congratulations.
Thanks, Sean.